I want to share this story for anyone who's feeling burnt out or questioning the job that they've worked so hard to get to, especially in medicine, thinking, this is not what I signed up for. What is happening here? Did I mess something up? Did I make the wrong decision? Can I even keep going with this? First off, you're not alone. A lot of people think these same things. I thought those things for many years. And this story, my story, does have a bit of a cautionary tale because it's a demonstration of what you should not do, which is try to solve burnout or address burnout without facing head on the root cause of whatever it is. It's different things for different people. So don't do what I did for over a decade in the first half of my clinical career and just led to a lot of suffering. Backing it up, I wanted to be a doctor from my earliest memory. And then once I was one, I loved it. I loved medicine. And honestly, I loved medical school. I went into emergency medicine that I chose because it was exciting. And I loved being a diagnostician. The EM residents and attendings when I was a med student, they were so welcoming and encouraging, and they were stoked to have me around. You don't get that a lot when you're a med student. And the camaraderie of the emergency department was incredible. I wanted to be a part of that. That's where I went. Now, the problem with using that sort of decision making is it's like marrying your high school crush, oh, so hot, so sexy, high school, all those emotions and hormones are going. But you don't think, well, you know what? What's this relationship going to be like in 10, 20, 25 years? Looking back now, I've got the 30,000 foot view. I do really well with serial processing, one-on-one engagements, and poorly with parallel processing. And I think if I'd been encouraged to do an assessment of how my mind worked and where I would be the best fit, I would have probably been steered away from emergency medicine and toward something like critical care, orthopedic surgery, or ophthalmology. But alas, I went with my high school crush. It's not that I didn't love emergency medicine. It was amazing, but I don't think that it fit the way that my mind worked. So I'm going to tell you what it was like. I was a senior resident at Denver General Hospital, and this was one of the best residencies in the country, still is. And I was well trained. It was exciting, but the pace and the overwhelm of it, I found hard to deal with. And during residency, this was a pattern that would repeat throughout my career. I'd get into the resus bay, sick patient, one-on-one, you're just super focused. It was great. But as soon as I left the room and there were 5 other things to do and people lined up to talk to me and all this and that, the parallel processing, or you could say multitasking or task saturation is what it really was, not so great. I kind of started spinning my wheels and I collapsed at times. I just didn't know how to manage it. And I remember around this time when I was a senior resident, I took what was a burnout inventory. They didn't call it that. They said, hey, we're just doing a research study. And a couple months later, I got a letter from the study author saying, we're worried that you are at risk for burnout, if not burnt out already. And I remember thinking, that is preposterous. You people don't know what you're talking about. Don't you know who I am? Don't you know what I am capable of? And it's funny because the same day I filled out that survey, I also got an award from the Emergency Medicine Residents Association for being the best clinical resident in the country. And so there was this discordance of my ego getting the award, being awesome, the chief resident, you're the man, and then being told you're on the road to burnout. And I'll tell you, I was feeling it when I was even a senior resident, still a trainee. And if you look at the 3 domains or the buckets of burnout, you've got emotional exhaustion. I just can't do this anymore. Every day is so hard to get through. I am dreading going into work. That's one. Then there's cynicism, detachment, indifference, seeing patients as objects. And then there's reduced sense of personal accomplishment or efficacy. For me, even as a senior resident, I was burnt. I was feeling it. I was having the symptoms in that first category, emotional exhaustion or dread. And for many years after that, I had this inner voice saying, oh my gosh, this is just not sustainable. And also this other one of, come on, F that. You're someone who perseveres and sustains. Quit being such a baby. I love the inner critic. So the first long-term job I took out of residency, it was at a prestigious hospital. It was incredibly busy. This was the job that everyone wanted. And in my first year in that job, my emotional exhaustion was just an 11 out of 10. I had such dread thinking about going into each shift. I would dread it for days before a shift even happened. When I was driving in, I just have this pit of acid in my stomach. So here I am, and this, what is considered a great community emergency medicine job, and I'm just getting thrashed every shift. Thinking, I don't know how long I can take this. And every shift, I had trouble keeping up. I'd be spinning my wheels. I would get home about 3 or 4 hours after every shift because I had to finish up my chart. So this first year out of residency, I'm thinking about my options. Do I switch specialties? Do I do something where I'm not getting slammed and overwhelmed every day and I can't keep up? Because this job seems impossible. But if there's one thing I'm not a quitter. I'm going to push through. Now, I didn't think I will push through and things will get better. I just thought I'll push through. So there you go. There's cautionary tale number one. When we struggle as physicians, and I'm talking to you high-level achievers, we often respond by doubling down on our effort. And I'll say this, when there's a surge of effort needed, it's like a mass casualty, or you just got to really dig in. Yeah, double down, triple down. But when it comes to thriving in a career, or at some points even surviving in a career, when you're feeling burnt, that I will grind it and push through is not the right move. Action is required. So at this point, this is 1 year, I took action. I doubled down, not just on grinding it out and muscling my way through the distress, but I took action investing time and energy in something that I love, teaching. I started teaching at the local residency program within my own ED group. It was amazing. And I was reconnecting with purpose. And purpose is the foundation of any great career. It is an endless source for durable satisfaction. But there's a big but here. When I think about don't do what I did, what's the problem here? Oh my gosh, kind of connecting with purpose and teaching. The problem is the emotional exhaustion, the dread was connected to something specific, and that was continually being overwhelmed, staying hours late every day. Instead of working on solutions for that, I focused on this, personal accomplishment or personal efficacy. And in a way, that was the path of least resistance. I knew how to teach. I loved it. It was a light lift. The other stuff that I needed to do, keep that away from me. Doubling down on my purpose, on my sense of just being fulfilled at this job, ironically, was not going to solve the root cause of my burnout. And double ironically, it prolonged it for many, many years. Because what happened was I would put so much focus into teaching. It was like a pressure release valve. So you'd get the burnout, burn going up. And then I would, get more into teaching and it would release it just a little bit because I would feel so good about this other stuff, not so intense. But then over the next 12 years, it would just keep accumulating and it reached a breaking point. I could not continue like this. I'm either leaving medicine or there's going to be some hard questions and hard answers. I need to change how I'm doing this. So I started to work on the overwhelm. I started to approach, okay, I'm staying late. How do I not stay late? What are the things where I need to be more efficient, more organized, more structured? What are the things I can control? Because I'm working at a busy place. I don't have control over ambulances coming in or patients in the waiting room. None of that. So I worked on all this stuff for years and I could never quite get to the point that I didn't feel dread going into this job. I tried, just didn't. So I realized, I can do this. I just need to work in an emergency department that's a little slower. I'm not getting hammered. And that was so hard to say to myself. I was at a job where I was well respected. I was in leadership positions. And in a way, I lost. This job had defeated me. And accepting that, admitting that defeat was so freeing because that was what I needed to address the burnout, to be able to admit to myself, that's not the right job for me. I need to be somewhere else where I can keep up. I still want to see sick patients. I want to be in the thick of it. So I knew there'd have to be, some sacrifices and change made. And then once I did that, instant shift. All the things that I loved about medicine and the teaching were still there. So my purpose, the foundation of what I was doing, buoying me up, just as strong. But now I could manage the stuff that had led to dread. So don't do what I did for over a decade. What I did was address burnout non-specifically. What do most doctors do for burnout? We either work harder. So if this sucks, I'm just going to put more energy into it. Or I'm going to hope that this changes. Someday things will get better. If you don't address them directly, they won't. Or we put our energies somewhere else, or we don't protect the things that are important. Mistakes I made. Not listening to myself, not listening to who I really was, saying, wow, I'm overwhelmed by all this volume in residency. Maybe I should work someplace where I'm not. That's a better fit for me. Another mistake was trying to figure this all out alone. If I had had somebody who knew what they were doing, helping me out, the resolution for this, I am certain, would have been very fast. And the third was just not taking a strategic approach. Instead of doing the hard work, doing what was easiest and seemed most natural. Second half of my career, reversed all of the things that were leading to that emotional exhaustion. It was great. And when I eventually left emergency medicine, it wasn't that I was burnt out. It was that I had started another career that began as a hobby and became a full-time job. So my side hustle became my main hustle. So if you've gotten to this point, hopefully there is something in this that's been useful to you. And I'll tell you, it's been helpful for me to tell this story. Hope you have a great day. Take care.